New information from the FBI about a nationwide effort to fight human trafficking. Less than 90 minutes ago, investigators revealed the results of Operation Cross Country 10.
Traffickers operate anywhere they can make a profit exploiting children. Victims endure physical neglect, sexual assault, suffer from malnutrition, unaddressed medical problems, and mental health issues.
3:15 a.m. January 9th, 2026. Minneapolis was frozen, streets empty, but beneath the silence, a federal operation was already underway. Unmarked SUVs rolled through the darkness. FBI, ICE, DEA, all converging on one location, Liberty Cross International Airport. The breach came at 3:17 a.m. Doors exploded inward. Flashlights cut through darkness. Agents moved fast, weapons drawn. What they found was 268 children, packed inside shipping containers, silent, frightened, waiting to be loaded onto charter planes headed overseas. This wasn't smuggling. This was industrial-scale human trafficking. If you want to see how deep this operation went, it like now. The airport owners were David Thomas Reynolds, 52, and his wife Safia Ali Warsame, 39. On paper, they were humanitarians, community leaders. Behind closed doors, they ran a pipeline. Somalia to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Tijuana, Tijuana to China. Over 654 names. Adults, children, entire families. Not one appeared in immigration databases. They were marked with codes. Transit only. No return. Cleared for transfer. Like inventory in a warehouse. Comment justice if you believe stories like this must never be hidden. Inside the operations office, agents found a vault, 9 encrypted hard drives, financial binders, passports in metal cases, and a photograph on the wall. Governor Richard A. Whitcomb, crossed out in red ink. Next to it, one word, eliminated. The financial records revealed offshore accounts, shell companies in 14 countries, payments from cartel operations. This wasn't opportunistic crime. This was infrastructure. One confidential witness changed everything. A U.S. Army veteran who'd escaped forced labor in a Chinese factory. His testimony matched the airport files exactly. Same routes. Same holding process. Same false promises. He described concrete floors. Chemical processing lines. 16-hour shifts. Those who collapsed were replaced. Those who resisted vanished. If you think no child should ever be treated like inventory, hit like and comment protect. Intelligence confirmed 2 other active locations. A cartel-controlled airstrip in Tijuana. A restricted industrial compound in Guangdong Province, China. Hostages were still inside. Movement logs showed their status had changed. Final transfer immediate. On January 2, 2026, hesitation was no longer an option. For 37 a.m. Eastern Time. The order came through. Simultaneous strikes. 3 continents. 1 mission. Tijuana went first. Mexican federal forces coordinated with FBI tactical advisors. When strike teams advanced, cartel lookouts scattered. Armed resistance escalated. For 18 minutes, the runway became a battlefield. A steel hangar was breached at 4:55 a.m. Inside were rows of people. Men. Women. Children. Tagged for departure. And behind them, the truth. Compressed narcotics bricks. Industrial chemical drums. Cartel routing codes. This wasn't a cargo terminal. This was a transit hub for people and product. Type yes if you're ready to see what happened next. 5:06 a.m. Pacific Time. Guangdong Province, China. The target was registered as a recycling facility. Thermal scans showed machinery running through the night. Inside, the reality was brutal. Concrete corridors. Chemical processing floors. Workers in 16-hour cycles. In a sealed lower-level bay, investigators forced open reinforced doors. Children's clothing. Sedatives. Injection kits. Bedding on concrete floors. Labels read, departures cleared. It wasn't storage. It was containment. 6:28 a.m. Minneapolis. FBI command confirmed final counts. 214 victims rescued at the Tijuana airstrip. Over 320 captives secured inside the Guangdong facility. 268 children recovered from the Minneapolis hangar. Total, 654 victims tied to a single pipeline. If you respect the courage of the officers who risked everything, comment rescue matters. By January 3, Liberty Cross was a sealed federal crime scene. Behind a decorative wall panel, they found a reinforced vault door. The vault opened at 9:42 a.m. Inside were documents describing an operation that ran like a corporation. But the language was cold. Procedural. Entirely absent of human reference. Victims weren't listed as people. They were units. Transfers. Inventory classes. Some files carried a notation, permanent transfer. No domestic record. Those names simply stopped appearing after departure dates. Hundreds of them. Financial statements tied offshore accounts to shell aviation firms across 3 continents. Internal memoranda described Minneapolis as the most stable corridor. Other notes showed targeting instructions. Individuals without close family contact. Without medical documentation. Victims who would not be missed. In a separate case box, agents discovered duplicate forms bearing humanitarian relief logos. The signatures were repeated. The dates recycled. None of the programs existed. Share this so more people understand what was hidden. Medical teams reported severe malnutrition. Untreated injuries. Deep anxiety. Some children didn't cry. They simply held on to the nearest adult and refused to let go. The most difficult question wasn't how many people had been saved. It was how many had never returned. Families overseas had believed their loved ones were already living safely in the United States. They had waited years for phone calls that never came. Now they understood why. Comments stand for justice if you believe crimes like this must never vanish into silence. For 6 years, the airport functioned under a label that drew little suspicion. Private humanitarian transport operations. It fell into a narrow space where many agencies assumed another office was already watching. No one saw the whole picture. Private aviation cargo screening was designed for contraband detection. Not for identifying people hidden behind legitimate paperwork. Local communities had trusted the image of the airport. Corporate filings looked legitimate. The system collapsed because everyone believed what they were supposed to believe. Liberty Cross didn't hide in shadows. It hid in credibility. It like if you believe justice is worth fighting for. The villains weren't only traffickers or cartel brokers. They were executives. Facilitators. Decision makers who wrapped exploitation in the language of charity. They treated children and families as assets to be moved, erased, and replaced. Yet in the darkest hours, the strength of the United States was measured in the men and women who refused to look away. The federal agents who worked across continents. The officers who stepped onto airstrips knowing hesitation could cost lives. Their courage affirmed that when American institutions act with unity, they can confront even the most hidden forms of injustice. The lesson of Liberty Cross is civic. Vigilance belongs to communities. To voters. To families who ask difficult questions when something appears too polished, too quiet, too unquestioned. Share this story so others cannot be hidden again. The survivors now face the long road of recovery. Their future depends on whether the nation treats this case as a moment or as a mandate. For those who survived, the future will be measured in the long, patient work of rebuilding lives. One voice. One memory. One step toward safety at a time. This is a warning. About what happens when power goes unquestioned. When profit disguises itself as compassion. The most vulnerable are the ones who pay the price. Comment your reaction below. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this is only the beginning.